Jared Cannonier might be the new Neil Magny. He just gatekept Gregory Rodrigues from the rankings. UFC Vegas 102, Cannonier versus Rodrigues just concluded. I'm going to go through the entire card and recap it for you. Starting with the first fight, I'll end with the main event. First fight of the night, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, Julia Avila. Avila had no business being in there with Cavalcanti, and Cavalcanti showed she had absolutely no nuts, okay? Because that girl was a dead man. A dead woman, I should say, out there. Julia Avila had nothing for her. Jacqueline Cavalcanti was not taking any chances. Had like a literal soccer mom in Julia Avila. Julia's not even looking for many takedowns. She's just content to stand and strike with her. Not to do anything. She's not going to do anything to you, Jacqueline. What are we doing? Go after that finish. You get one or two in the women's bantamweight division, you could probably get a title shot, okay? And this girl is actually really good. Like, her skills are there, Cavalcanti. But she just had no urgency. No urgency. All that talk of I want to go in there and get a finish, put on a show, put my name out there. You're the first fight of the night, buried on the early prelims of an Apex card. The only thing you could do out there is go out and get a big finish, and maybe people will start talking about you. I think she's really good, but you just got to go for it. Okay, enough of this jab, 1-2, leg kick. She's standing in front of her. Julia Avila's not moving anywhere. Her footwork was non-existent. Jacqueline's just standing in front of her, like waiting to counter her or something. You could just throw your hands at her, okay? She's a literal soccer mom who's had, like, both knees replaced. She got nothing for you. Just go for it. But either way, she gets it done by unanimous decision, 30-27, across the board. Easy win. Moving on. Valter Walker taking on Don'Tale Mayes. Oh, my God. He really did it again. He did it again. I said on the live stream with Matty Betts, this literally came up. Go back and watch it. Somebody said, Valter Walker, by heel hook. 50-1 on BetMGM. I said, that's a scam. Because for one, it should be at least like 100-1. If you're getting a heavyweight to win by submission and it's a heel hook, it should be like 100 or 200, 500-1. It was 50-1 and it hit. Valter Walker, a real problem for these heavyweights because they can't grapple. And apparently, if they're on the ground, you just do a heel hook on a heavyweight, they just don't know what to do. And Don'Tale Mayes, yes, he's been heel hooked before. It was Cyril Gane, which, you know, in hindsight is like if Cyril Gane can hook you, like Valter Walker could probably hook you as well. But Valter Walker, easy money. Easy money for Valter Walker. Don'Tale Mayes, I don't know how that guy was in the rankings. Whoever put that man in the rankings needs to write their resignation letter right now. Valter Walker gets it done. He's going to be a problem for these heavyweights because most of them can't grapple. And as long as he does grapple, and as long as the UFC doesn't get in his ear and tells him he can't shoot takedowns, otherwise he's going to get cut, he'll crack into the top 10, or at least get a chance at the top 10. He's not that bad. He's not a good striker, but he has really solid wrestling and really solid grappling. And if he can get submissions, then at least there's some excitement there with his grappling. He's not like a Carl Williams type. Moving on. Elijah Smith, Vince Morales. I thought this was a pretty much 50-50 fight when it came down to it. I thought Vince did some decent work in the first round. I thought he landed some good shots. Elijah Smith just way faster. And Vince just wore the damage a lot worse. Like his nose was busted up, bleeding all over the place. And then round two, we get a bunch of grappling sequences where you see the levels. Like Elijah's getting him to the ground, but Vince Morales is out scrambling him, putting him in these Darce chokes, putting him in the neckties. I'm like, oh my God, how is he getting out of these? But he did. And then we get into round three, and I'm like, all right, Vince, you see where your advantage is here, right? Like you see your levels above him in the grappling scrambles. So wouldn't you want to try to go back to that, right? Because the first round, I wouldn't say he like clearly lost, but I thought he lost. So it's 1-1. And the one round you had success in was when the fight was on the ground and you were in scrambles where you were out scrambling Elijah Smith. And the guy doesn't really engage in the grappling until about halfway through the round. After Elijah Smith hit him with some big jabs, some big shots, and ultimately like busted his nose up more than it already was. And then they get into a couple grappling sequences, and then they get back up to the feet, and Vince is still striking with him. What are we doing? Vince, if you want to win this fight, you know you're not going to outstrike him at this point. Like, he's not tired. He's much faster than you. His boxing is crisper. you're wearing the damage worse. You got to get this fight to the ground. And then with about 10 seconds left, he jumps on the neck. And that rear naked choke gave me flashbacks of Shavkat versus Jeff Neal. I'm like, oh my God, is this really going to happen? No. Not enough time. Not enough time, Vince. And Elijah Smith gets the dub. I thought it was the rightful decision because I think Elijah won the rounds 1 and 3. But they were very competitive rounds, and I still think it was about a 50-50 fight. Maybe you could favor Elijah a little bit, minus 130, minus 140. I could see it, but overall, pretty solid fight. You know, for a lower level fight on the prelims, solid fight. Elijah Smith showed me a lot at 22 years of age. I think the guy looked really solid. Vince Morales is a veteran, and I think Elijah did well. You know, getting put in those submissions against a guy that has wins by like a Japanese necktie and shit. Like, he got out of it. He didn't panic. He didn't get gassed out. So Elijah Smith, 22 years of age, solid prospect. Keep your eye on him. I faded him this time, but you know, moving forward, he gets that UFC debut out of the way. I liked him on the Contender Series. We'll see what he does. Vince Morales, maybe got one more shot in the UFC, but if you couldn't beat Elijah Smith at this point in his career, might be it for you, buddy. You might be getting your walking papers. Moving on, Gabriel Bonfim taking on Chaos Williams. Chaos just could not do anything. You know, he was throwing these Dricus du Plessis looking strikes out there, but just not as effective. And I think it really comes down to the kicking range. And like Gabriel Bonfim was chopping that leg of Chaos Williams early, who was popping the jab, and Chaos just couldn't get a read on anything. And then he's getting taken down. He got put in a bad spot in the first round, got out of it. And then we get into round 2. Well, actually, before we get into round 2, Gabriel Bonfim's fucking dirty, dude. That choke, that Von Flue choke that he had, bro, you very clearly did not let that go. Very clearly did not let that go after the bell. Like, held on to it after the ref touched you to, like, let go. He held on to it. That's a blood choke. That's dirty as shit. Should be getting a fine from the Nevada State Athletic Commission for that, dude. Or at least a point taken. Or DQ. Just kidding. Gabriel Bonfim, round 2, comes out doing the same stuff. Jabbing, low kick, mixes in a takedown, gets him down to the ground. Chaos Williams tries to get up with about, 20 seconds left. Gabriel Bonfim looks for the Darce choke, cinches it in, locks it in deep. Chaos Williams goes out cold. You know, Bonfim, if you're on the ground with Bonfim, you got to protect your neck. This ain't the GFL, but listen to the GFL. All right, protect your fucking neck. With Bonfim, you don't want that neck hanging out there. It could be the Darce, could be the guillotine. Just don't give him your neck. It's kind of like against Islam. The one thing that you shouldn't be doing out there is giving up your neck because he's going to cinch in the Darce. You're going to give your neck to Gabriel Bonfim, you're getting choked out, bud. All right? Chaos never been finished. Gabriel Bonfim, first guy to finish him. Gabriel Bonfim is definitely the better Bonfim. I've been saying that. I know he took his loss to Nicholas Dalby, but, like, the dude's skills are much better than Ishmael Bonfim. And Ishmael, we'll talk about him later, but very undersized for 155. Gabriel Bonfim at 170 is big. He's fast. He hits hard. Solid jab, solid leg kicks, solid wrestling, solid submissions. Much better Bonfim, in my opinion. He gets it done against Chaos Williams. Good performance, but dirty fucking move, bro. Dirty fucking move. Moving on. Rafael Estevam, Jesus Aguilar. Dustin Poirier was sitting in his couch and just smiling his ass off watching Jesus Aguilar. What he was looking for it the entire fight. Like, you know that's his go-to move. But this dude, the first takedown attempt, literally tried to jump and look for a guillotine. And Estevam ragdolled him all over the place. Didn't really give him many positions. Jesus went for it, I think, once or twice. Had it locked in, but, like, not super locked in. Estevam got out of it. Jesus is just not going to win any fights unless he gets a guillotine. Like, I still don't know how he won that decision to Mateus Mendonça. Like, I still don't understand it. But yeah, I mean, he's submission or bust, and it really comes down to, like, guillotine or bust. It's not like he had any rear naked choke. It wasn't like he was sweeping. It wasn't like he was a really solid grappler. I think he looked for, like, that omoplata or something early, kind of used it to sweep or get out of it, but Estevam just ragdolled him, and then round 3 just completely fell off a cliff, and I'm like, oh my God, if Jesus Aguilar can knock you out in round 3, you don't belong on the UFC roster. And Jesus couldn't do it. So at least we know that Estevam has the skills to be on the UFC roster, but the dude It's a pretty much a copy and paste from his UFC debut. Ragdoll Charles Johnson the first 2 rounds and then gassed out and survived. Shown real good improvements there. Rafael with a year or 2 off. I think he had like a tumor in his thyroid or something, so might be fucked up to say, but either way, Estevam, big, solid wrestler for the flyweight division, beats Jesus Aguilar. Congratulations, bro. Welcome to the club. Angela Hill taking on Ketlin Souza. Controversial decision, as always with Angela Hill, split decision. Should have just put the house on a split decision in that one. Round 1, I think Angela Hill very clearly won that one. With the takedown, she looked solid on the feet. In the clinch was landing knees. And then we get into round 2. And Ketlin Souza seems to have woken up a little bit. And then she's starting to throw more. And she's starting to land. When she lands, it's a lot more impactful than Angela Hill. I thought Ketlin Souza took round 2. And then we get into round 3. Angie Hill gets that takedown in round 1. Things get interesting. Like Souza gets back up to her feet. They start slugging it out. Souza's landing. She looks like she's landing a lot harder than anything Angela Hill is throwing. And Angela Hill's bleeding out of her nose. She's wearing the damage a little bit more. And I thought Ketlin Souza won round 3, and then it goes to split decision, and I'm like, well, it's a split decision. They ain't going to give it to Angela Hill, but they did. And for the one time in her career, it was a split decision where I don't think she won. But maybe that's just the karma that she was looking for. You know, she gets the split decision from the judges. That's her first split decision win in the UFC, I think. Out of how many fights where she's gone to split decision, like 6 or 7? So at least she got one. But I thought Ketlin Souza probably should have won that, just based on damage, based on landing the more impactful shots. Like Angela Hill is when she throws her hands, they don't really connect with much. They just don't. She throws like some solid kicks here and there, but yeah, when I was watching it, I'm like, you know, Souza. Anytime Souza lands something, it's just affecting Angela Hill a lot more. But that's women's MMA for you. Moving on, Jose Delgado taking on Connor Matthews. Jose Delgado looks to be the real deal. I mean, the guy is dynamic in his striking. He's fluid. He moves well. His entries are solid. Looks like he hits freaking hard. He got taken down twice, but was back up to his feet really, really quickly. Round 1 KO. Connor Matthews looked lost out there on the feet. Absolutely nothing for Jose. Lands that nice right hand, I think it was, that dropped him. It was a straight punch, whether it was a right or a left. Goes down to the ground, gets into full mount, and that's it, man. Like full mount, Jose Delgado on top of you, elbows raining down. Connor Matthews was probably out before he even landed some of those follow-up shots. So yeah, Connor Matthews probably going to get cut. Was a 2-time Dana White Contender Series guy that went to like a pretty competitive decision. They gave him the contract, and now he's been knocked out by Dennis Bazooka and Jose Delgado. And if they're feeding a Contender Series guy making his UFC debut to a guy who's 0-1 in the UFC, they probably don't want him around. So Delgado, on the up and up. Really solid guy, MMA lab. The dude's going to do some good stuff. You can just tell by the way he fights. He's dangerous. He looks confident. He goes for it. Not like some other fighters that we may talk about later. Moving on. Andre Petroski taking on Rodolfo Vieira. This is one where I kind of thought that 2 grapplers, maybe they wouldn't engage too much in the grappling, and it played out that way. Because Petroski really wasn't looking to take the fight to the ground, and Vieira was looking to take the fight to the ground, but had no success doing it because his wrestling's not very good. And Petroski's takedown defense looked really solid. The thing with this fight, it comes down to round 1, in my opinion. It comes down to round 1, which was like razor close. Razor close. Because round 2, I thought Vieira won it. I thought he did more work in round 2. And just a lot of nice straight rights, more active, and the body language was a little bit better from Rodolfo Vieira. And when I say body language, I mean like the one that's pushing the pace, the one that doesn't react to getting hit as badly. Vieira won round 2. Round 3, Petroski definitely won, pushed the pace, landed some really nice shots, and the body language was there. Like, it was pretty clear that Petroski won round 3, in my opinion. Comes down to round 1. And it was a 50-50. A 50-50, and it really comes down to me the shots that were landed, the one shot that was landed was like a left hook from Petroski that kind of stunned Vieira, but he was also shooting a takedown at the same time. And that was like the biggest shot of the round. So I think you got to give it to Petroski. I think Petroski probably won round one, but like I said, 50-50, very close decision. And Andre Petroski picks up a win against Adolfo Vieira. He calls out Bo Nickal. I love that call. I love it. I think he's been calling out Bo Nickal for a long time. And Bo Nickal was scheduled to fight Adolfo Vieira, and for whatever reason, they scrapped that fight and they made the Paul Craig fight. Very interesting. Now Andre Petroski beats Adolfo Vieira. He calls out Bo Nickal. I don't see why they don't make it. But Andre Petroski called him out, and then Bo Nickal responded saying, don't think that we can do that because the fans say they don't want me to fight bums anymore. I mean, yeah, we don't want you to fight bums, but like Petroski's probably not like the easiest fight for you. I mean, Petroski could easily get knocked out by like your hip bone if it needs to be. But Petroski does have capabilities like on the feet, on the ground, pretty solid wrestler, pretty solid grappler. That'll be a decent matchup to make. Like they're obviously not going to make it, and maybe they will. It doesn't seem like they're going to make it because you go from Paul Craig to Petroski. It's kind of a weird look, but either way, solid win for Petroski. Adolfo, I feel like if Adolfo like went for it a little bit more, he probably could have won because Petroski didn't look super confident. Like he didn't really look like, yeah, I'm just going to outstrike you and it's going to be easy. He looked like I'm going to outstrike you, but just barely outstrike you to a decision victory. So like if Adolfo just kind of went for it a little bit more, Adolfo's got a pretty solid chin. I feel like he could have won, but I think he just let that one slip away. So another time where, a fighter probably going to look back at it and be like, man, I could have done more and I could have won that fight. We'll talk about that later. Moving on. Nazim Sajikov taking on Ishmael Bonfim. I was on Sajikov in this one, had a bet on him. And early on, I was like, dude, Nazim, what are we doing? The dude's backing up in straight lines. Bonfim is countering him, landing nice straight rights. Nazim's just kind of unfazed, though. It's a thing in a lot of Nazim's fights. He's just unfazed. The guy must be built different. Like, he gets hit with something, it doesn't really faze him. He's down, he's losing minutes, doesn't really faze him. But, like, then when he lands with such impact that it just hurts guys. It just hurts them. Either they're going to get knocked down or they're going to get cut. He had that cut on Evan Elder. He knocked down Borshev like twice. And then now he lands that question mark kick, and it probably shattered Ishmael Bonfim's orbital. Nice little question mark kick. I knew that left kick was going to be big in this fight because it's southpaw versus orthodox. So the body and the head kicks were going to be big. And it proved to be pretty accurate. So Nazim picks up a dub, first time back in the cage for a long time. Good showing from him, getting the first round KO. The thing with the first round KO is obviously it was a doctor stoppage, and they looked at it in between rounds. And I don't know, I wouldn't really chalk it up as like a translation error because from what I heard, the doctor said, you can't see out of your eye, like a question, and he says yes. So, the doctor's like, well, he said yes, he can't see. Tells Mark Smith. Mark Smith calls it off, but it's also like, bro, you don't tell the doctor you can't see unless you want to stop fighting, right? Like every fighter knows that. And maybe it is a translation error, and maybe he thought she said, like, you can see, like, can you see? And he said yes, but if we're going based on what happened, the doctor said, you can't see out of your eye, question mark. And Ishmael Bonfim said yes. He didn't repeat it, but he just said yes, meaning he can't see out of his eye. And every fighter should know, if you tell the doctor you can't see out of your eye, they're going to stop the fight. So if every fighter knows that, if you tell the fighter you can't see out of your eye, that means you want the fight to stop. And I think that's probably what happened. He got hit with that kick, probably shattered his orbital bone, and he was like, yeah, I can't see. Get me the fuck out of here. And they called the fight. So it's a win for Nazim. Ishmael takes another loss. Very short for the lightweight division. 5'8", very solid striker. But I think he's just undersized, dude. I think he could be a 145er. I know he struggled to make 155, but the dude's 5'8". He's 5'8". Like, he's not going to, like, imagine him up against Jalen Turner, 6'3". It's a 7-inch reach or a 7-inch height disadvantage. Like, are we serious? Like, Ishmael Bonfim could probably be a 145er. I don't know. 5'8" at 155 is not going to get you far. And Nazim is just a tank of a human being, like rock solid durability. And when he hits you, it hurts. It cuts you, knocks you out, or shatters your fucking bones. So, good win for Nazim. Moving on. Edmund Shabazi and Dylan Budka. This fight was pretty much going to go one way and one way only. And it was Edmund Shabazi and nuking Dylan Budka in the first round. Nice little step back, right hand down the pipe. Dylan Budka should have never been signed to the UFC. People, I don't want to say people forget, but like you look back at how he got signed to the UFC. It was like a short notice fight on the Dana White Contender Series. It was the boringest fight you will ever watch. And he won. But the only reason that they really gave it to him was because he took it on short notice. And everything he's done in the UFC has been absolutely terrible. So, Dylan Budka, going to get cut, most likely. Shabazian beats another can. Good for him. Moving on. Co-main event, Yusuf Zalal, Calvin Kattar. This is where the rant comes in. I already kind of gave my rant, but I'll give you more long version of my rant. And obviously, I'm going to be a little bit pissed because Calvin Kattar, if he won that decision, he would have made me a lot of money. And I didn't have much investment on it. So don't be like in the comments, oh, you're salty because you lost money. I didn't lose that much money. I just could have made a lot of money. It's not like I had a ton of money on Calvin Kattar to win. I actually picked Yusuf Zalal to win, and I picked him to win by decision. But I thought the odds on Calvin Kattar were so big that if he had the right game plan, he could go out there and win a decision against Yusuf Zalal, who's lost 5 decisions in his career. But the thing is, Calvin Kattar did not go out there with the right game plan. You know this going into the fight. Maybe he didn't know this. Maybe they just don't study their opponents. This is where MMA fighters just lose me sometimes. Like, I can sit here and tell you what the game plan should probably be, and then they just go out and they don't do anything. And I'm like, how do you not see this is how the game plan should be? I don't understand it. What should the game plan be against Yusuf Zalal? Number 1, pressure. Pressure. Yusuf Zalal is a guy that likes to fight from the outside, uses footwork. You have to pressure him. You have to cut off the cage. And when you cut off the cage, you have to throw. If you just cut him off and don't throw, he's just going to circle out again. Calvin Kattar, first round, comes out, hands high, kind of just walking forward, not really doing anything. Yusuf Zalal is fucking jabbing him, moving, footwork, move, leg kick, front kick, jab, moving all around him. And Calvin's not doing shit. Round 2, I'm like, okay, maybe he was going to wait to get his reads in round 1. He's going to come out in round 2 and, put the pressure on, come out guns blazing. He's already down a round. He's got to win the next 2. Same thing. Same old thing from Calvin Kattar. Walking forward, cutting him off. And when he cuts him off, sometimes Yusuf Zalal would stop. Once he cut him off, Yusuf Zalal would stop, and Calvin Kattar would move backwards. What was the point of cutting him off? If you're going to cut him off, and he stops, and he's there to be hit, why are you moving backwards? So, we look at the significant strike totals. Round 1, Calvin Kattar landed 8 significant strikes. He threw 23. That's less than 5 significant strikes per minute. Round 2, he upped it. He landed 10. He landed 10 significant strikes. He threw 37. But what happens in round 3? So he's down 2 rounds. He's got to go out there and get the finish. Well, now you're kind of fucked, right? Now you're kind of fucked because Yusuf Zalal knows he's up 2 rounds. And you have to go out there and finish a guy who knows he wins this fight unless he gets finished. So what is he going to do? He's going to stick to what he's been doing, except take a more cautious approach. So right now you're fucked. Because for one, you couldn't hit him in rounds 1 or 2 because you weren't going for anything. You didn't have any type of pressure. And then we get into round 3, and this is where you need to finish him to win the fight. You're fucked. He goes out there, puts the pressure on. You see the urgency from him in round 3. He's putting the pressure on. He's making sure when he cuts him off, he's throwing combos. He's ending it with a kick. He's looking for a finish. And he's having a lot of success. He lands 20 significant strikes in round 3. That's more than he did in the first 10 minutes of the fight. He throws 74 significant strikes. That's double what he attempted in round 2. He actually went for it in round 3. And what happened? He had success. He won the round. So why? Why does it take a fighter to be down 2 rounds to nothing to then start implementing a game plan that they should have had at the beginning of the fight? If you put the pressure on Youssef Zalal to where he has to actually work at his footwork, actually move faster, his reactions have to be there early on in the fight, he's going to tire out. We saw it towards the end of round 3. He was getting tired because he had to move a lot faster. His reactions had to be a lot quicker because Calvin Kattar was there. He was putting a pace on. He was throwing a lot more than he was. He had to be conscious of what's coming after him. If you do that earlier in the fight, maybe you don't win the first round, but maybe you win the second half of round 2. Then you carry it into round 3. And then you probably could have won round 2. Put the fucking pressure on, bro. Calvin, you were just on UFC 300. You got fucking ragdolled by Aljamain Sterling. Now you're on an Apex co-main event against a guy who's not even ranked. And you go out there and you lose the first 2 rounds because you're not putting any type of pressure on. This is the problem. This is the problem we have with a lot of fighters. I'll never understand it. You fight twice, maybe 3 times, maybe even just 1 time in a year. You have 15 minutes to put your best foot forward, to fight your best fight. And you lose the first 2 rounds, like, just based on effort? Like, it didn't really look like there was much effort in the first 2 rounds. And then in round 3, the effort came out. I don't understand it, man. But either way, Youssef Zalal is still a really good fighter. And I can't knock him for, like, being the jab and run away type of guy because it's a style that works for him. And he comes into every fight doing it. You kind of have to knock Calvin Kattar for just not being the guy that's ready for that type of style. That's how Youssef Zalal always fights. You think he's going to fight differently? You think he's going to be able to just stand there and trade with you? No, you got to put the fucking pressure on, bro. Youssef Zalal probably going to crack into the rankings. Still a really solid fighter. The guy's never been finished. Tough to beat on the feet because a lot of guys just don't have the willingness to go out there and put the pressure on. Really solid footwork. Really solid grappling. I know he missed all of his takedowns. 0 for 8 today, but didn't really need him. That brings us to the main event. Jared Cannonier, Gregory Rodrigues. Gregory came out like a bat out of hell. Oh my God, I thought the dude was going to get a first-round knockout. Knocked him down twice in round 1. He looked like the fucking Terminator out there. Obama should have been fucking saving his load, all right? Because he put it all out there in round 1. Then we get into round 2. And RoboCop starts slowing down. And the DC is like, oh my God, like, is he really gassing out right now in round 2? This is a 25-minute fight. How is he going to make it 25 minutes? And he kind of battles back a little bit. But it was probably still a Cannonier round, so it's tied 19-19. Could be 10-8. Probably not. Probably not a 10-8. 2 knockdowns, though? Nah, probably not a 10-8. So it's probably 19-19. 1-1. Going into round 3. And Gregory's doing pretty good again. Like, it could easily be a Gregory round into round 3. He kind of got a second wind, and then bang, the elbow hits, drops him, nearly finishes him in round 3, and now Cannonier's got all the momentum, and Cannonier steals the round with that elbow for what probably was a Gregory Rodrigues round. And then we get into round 4. I mean, I thought they could have easily just thrown in the towel after round 3. Like, Gregory was fucked up. He was fucked up. And I'm like, bro, if you don't throw the towel in right now and he goes out there for 10 more minutes and just doesn't die, like, he might get a life-altering beating because he doesn't have much gas left. His reflexes aren't there. He's getting hit with stuff. He just got fucking rocked by an elbow and hit with a couple big shots on the ground. Then he goes out in round 4. Just pretty much a dead body out there. Cannonier rips a body shot, drops him. That's it. That's it. RoboCop, always entertaining. Really would have liked to see him get it done against Cannonier, but there's also part of me that's like, you know, Cannonier's been fighting some of the best fucking guys. He's always active. He's always at an Apex main event. It's always tough for him. Kind of lives at the Apex nowadays, and that's probably where they'll keep him. But he's, what, 41? And this was an unranked guy in RoboCop, a big opportunity for RoboCop, and the experience showed. You know, Cannonier could have easily just wilted in that first round, getting dropped twice, and could have just been like, yo, I'm out of here, but still got the heart, still a beast, just an absolute beast. Like, the guy's cardio has always been one of his biggest weapons, in my opinion. Like, just his ability to stay in your face, like, not die, just keep marching forward and still hitting you with big shots. He took everything Gregory had, first round, battled back, and now he's the new Neil Magny, bro. Like, he's obviously not going to beat anybody in the top 5 anymore. I guess, no, he's probably not. He's not going to beat anybody in the top 5. So now he's going to be a top 10 gatekeeper, top 15 gatekeeper. Gregory Rodrigues is probably going to have to fight 2-3 more times outside the rankings before he gets another shot at a ranked guy. I mean, you could see the skills were there early on, but like the gas tank didn't show up, and the striking defense has never really been there for Gregory, but he didn't get like completely chinned like he has in the past. So, yeah, good for Gregory. Or good for Cannonier, not good for Gregory. Bad for Gregory. Real bad for Gregory. Fuck, dude. He's so exciting. I would have loved to see him win. But Cannonier just can't get rid of him, bro. Just can't get rid of him. That's it for the recap. Hopefully you enjoyed. It's a newer thing on the channel. Just thought I'd come out here and give you my thoughts, give you my rants. Like the video for me. Subscribe to the channel. UFC Seattle this week. Another fight night card. Henry Cejudo. Smoking on the Home of Fight YouTube interview. What a guy. We'll talk about that. Song Yadong, main event. The train keeps rolling. Till next time, hey, Jai Picks, we out.